Hello students, welcome to EPG Pathshala. I am Renu Arora, former Head Education and Training Division, CSIR, NISCARE, New Delhi. Today we are going to talk about the module Operational Planning Techniques, that is, use of planning tools like Gantt charts, Pert, CPM, etc. This is from the paper Management of Library and Information Centers. This module discusses operational planning techniques like Gantt charts and Pert CPM as examples to ensure smooth functioning of various special activities of libraries and information organizations. The objectives of this module are to get acquainted with the help for operational planning and libraries, also the need for operational planning and libraries, identify the various operational planning techniques. In fact, there are several operational planning techniques. We are going to pick up two of these techniques in this particular module. We will explain the role of Gantt charts in operational planning. We will try to understand the network fundamentals. We will try to prepare a network diagram with Pert and CPM. We will also learn what Pert is all about and what CPM is all about. And lastly, we will try to differentiate between Gantt charts and Pert CPM. Let's take a look at techniques of operational planning. Some of the major operational planning techniques are risk management, budgetary control, work breakdown structure, Gantt charts, network analysis or critical path analysis, resource histograms, milestones, checkpoints, and gates. Of these just mentioned techniques, no single tool addresses all project management requirements. Gantt charts and network analysis are two of the most commonly used operational planning tools in project management. In the subsequent sections, Gantt chart and two techniques of network analysis, that is PERT, Program Evaluation Review Technique, and CPM, that is Critical Path Method, are discussed in detail, as these are found to be most suitable in library and information organizations. Both of these techniques can be applied manually or with commercially available project management software. Stop. Before going into what the various planning techniques are, let's see what project graphics is all about. In fact, the ideal situation here is to construct charts and schedules in suitable notation that can be used by all for status reporting. In fact, it is for the various levels of management that these graphics, in other words, these charts or schedules, can be used to perform activities so that they get help in carrying out the activity in a proper manner, and they can also side by side report the status of the activity while it is in progress. These should contain three vital control parameters. These are time, cost, and performance. All schedules and charts should consider these three parameters and their relationship to cooperate resources. Information to ensure proper plan evolution is usually obtained through four methods. Firstly, first-hand observation. Secondly, oral and written reports. Thirdly, review and technical interchange meeting. And fourthly, graphical displays. With regard to first-hand observation, this is usually the very basic method and it can be used by anyone. Whatever is going on can be observed. If required, recordings can be made, or anyone can observe and form opinions about how to carry out the activity. With regard to oral and written reports, proper reports are given and timely reports are also submitted so that management knows what is to be done or what is going on or what corrective actions are to be taken. Then there are review and technical interchange meetings. In these meetings, periodically, whatever activity is going on, that can be reviewed. It is in fact a kind of a timely report which helps to view what has already been completed, what is already in the pipeline, and what more is coming up. And in case it is found that we are lagging behind, in a timely manner, the corrective action can take place. So, review and technical interchange meetings are a big help for project graphics. And lastly, the graphical displays. The graphical displays usually highlight what the activity is all about, how much time it is going to consume, and also what are the resources to be consumed by the particular activity. So, in this manner, a schedule can be prepared, and we can see that when we are working on a project, we can also check whether we are on time or not, we are above the or we can ahead of the schedule or we are lagging, and if we are lagging, how to take corrective action, also the required resources have arrived or not. So graphical displays are a big help in project graphics. Let's take a look at techniques of operational planning. Some of the major operational planning techniques are risk management, budgetary control, work breakdown structure, Gantt charts, network analysis or critical path analysis, resource histograms, milestones, checkpoints, and gates. Of these just mentioned techniques, no single tool addresses all project management requirements. Gantt charts and network analysis are two of the most commonly used operational planning tools in project management. In the subsequent sections, Gantt chart and two techniques of network analysis, that is Pert program evaluation review technique and CPM, that is critical path method, are discussed in detail, as these are found to be most suitable in library and information organizations. Both of these techniques can be applied manually or with commercially available project management software. There are several techniques, and one of the techniques is the Gantt chart. Let's see what a Gantt chart is all about. A Gantt chart is a matrix which lists on the vertical axis all the tasks to be performed. Each row contains a single task, identification for which usually consists of a number and a name. The horizontal axis is headed by columns indicating estimated task duration, skill level needed to perform the task, and the name of the person assigned to the task. This is followed by one column for each period in the project's duration. Each period may be expressed in hours, days, weeks, months, and other time units. In some cases, it may be necessary to label the period columns as period 1, period 2, and so on. So we can see that Gantt chart is where we have a horizontal axis and there is a vertical axis. There are rows and columns. Rows contain the tasks which usually have a number and a name. On the other hand, in the horizontal axis, we have the details about the task duration, skills, etc., and the person who is going to carry out the task. So, Gantt chart is accordingly prepared, and as I have already said, it is in the form of a matrix. Use of Gantt charts as a tool. Gantt charts, also referred to as Gantt charts, are useful tools for analyzing and planning more complex projects. This is due to the reason that they can be used to plan timescale for a project. Secondly, to plan, coordinate, and track specific tasks that need to be completed for a project. Thirdly, these can be used to estimate required resources. Fourthly, these give a basis for graphic scheduling when these tasks will be carried out. Fifthly, they allow to plan the allocation of resources needed to complete the project. Fifthly, these are good for small projects when the number of tasks or activities are small and not complex. And lastly, these help to work out the critical path for a project which has to be completed by a particular date. Let's now learn how we can draw a Gantt chart. A Gantt chart is a bar chart that shows the tasks of a project, when each must take place and how long each will take. As the project progresses, bars are shaded to show which task has been completed. People assigned to each task can also be represented. To draw up a Gantt chart or a Gantt diagram, some of the steps are to be followed. These are: firstly, identify tasks. Here, all tasks which are needed to complete the project are to be identified. Then, the key milestones in the project are also to be decided. Besides this, time which is required for each task is also to be identified. And lastly, the sequence of events has also to be shown, because which task must be finished before the following task can begin, or which can happen simultaneously, or which task must be completed before each milestone. Then for this, a horizontal line time axis can be drawn at the top or bottom of a page. It can be marked off with an appropriate scale for the length of the task, which could be days or weeks. Besides this, every task of the project can be checked on the chart. As events and activities take place, there have to be diamonds to be filled up and bars to show completion. For tasks in progress, an estimation has to be made for how long task has reached and fill in that much of the bar. Besides this, a vertical marker can be shown at a place where project is on the particular timeline. If the chart is posted on the wall, for example, this is an easy way to show the current time is with heavy dark string hung vertically across the chart. Besides drawing manually, there are many other ways to create Gantt charts. For example, Microsoft Project, a task planning program, makes it easy to track and chart project timelines with built-in Gantt chart view. Another option is to use Excel. Excel does not contain a built-in Gantt chart format. However, we can create a Gantt chart in Excel by customizing the stacked bar chart type. Using these not only eases the drawing of Gantt charts, they also make modification of plans easier and provide facilities for monitoring progress against plans, as well as generating resource histograms. Let's examine the advantages of Gantt chart. Gantt chart is a very simple and very inexpensive method, can be developed even by supervisory staff with very little training. The charts usually depict complex ideas in totality. In fact, by looking at a single chart, we can know what is being carried out within the organizations. These charts clearly show the decided time and work schedule for each job, thereby creating visibility. And also, there is complete transparency. We can immediately know, and it's also visible, what activities are to be carried out and what schedules and the times are for various activities. Then monitoring and control are also easier and can be done within a minimum time frame at a very lower cost. These charts can also be changed and updated quickly at a very low cost. The very reason why the cost is low is that any level of management, including the lower level of the management, with little bit of training, can prepare these charts. Gantt charts are presentation tools that show the key milestones of a project, because looking at the chart, the totality of the whole project can be viewed. Besides this, the bars on the chart indicate the period in which a particular task or set of tasks will be completed. This helps to understand what is happening in the project all the time. So we can see that there are several advantages of Gantt chart. The very reason is that it is very easy to prepare, and it can be also changed and updated very quickly with the minimum of cost. We have already examined the advantages of Gantt charts. Let's take a look at some of the disadvantages of Gantt charts. Firstly, a major disadvantage of Gantt charts relates to task dependencies. When project managers are illustrating tasks in a project, sometimes they want to show how the tasks depend on one another. Unfortunately, the Gantt charts format does not allow for this. They also do not show job interrelationships and interdependence. Secondly, cost implications cannot be shown in the Gantt charts. Thirdly, with these charts, it is not possible to depict other alternatives for project completion. Fourthly, the shape and form of Gantt charts can differ according to the nature of the requirement. Also, the size of the bars on the chart does not indicate the amount of work. Fifthly, the charts need to be updated constantly. Sixthly, Gantt charts are not flexible as these cannot accommodate changes once the project has commenced. Changes to the schedule require redrawing of the chart. And lastly, the Gantt chart does not highlight work breakdown structure elements. It has the highest risk of failure or delay. Another technique besides the Gantt chart is network analysis. Network analysis is the general name given to certain specific techniques which can be used for the planning, management, and controlling of projects. It is also defined as breakdown of complex project data into its component parts, that is, activities, events, durations, etc., and plotting them to show their interdependence and interrelationships. According to McGraw-Hill Dictionary of Scientific and Technical Terms, network analysis is an analytical technique which is used during project planning to determine the sequence of activities and their interrelationship within the network of activities that will be required by the project. It is also known as network planning. In libraries and information organizations, network analysis helps to plan, carry out, and complete various small and large products by analyzing the project activities. Each project is divided into individual tasks and activities, which are arranged in logical sequence. The sequence in which the tasks are performed, including those to be carried out simultaneously, has also to be decided before commencement of the project. Eventually, a network diagram has to be constructed depicting relationship between various tasks, activities and their sequence. Finally, costs, time and other resources are allocated to various activities. Network analysis is therefore an effective and powerful method of assessing various aspects. Firstly, what tasks must be carried out. Secondly, where parallel activity can be performed. Thirdly, the shortest time in which one can complete a project. Fourthly, resources which are needed to execute a project. Fifthly, the sequence of activities, scheduling and timing involved. Then the task priorities, and lastly, it's the most effective way of shortening time on urgent projects. Use of network analysis as a tool. Good planning and visual communication tool for effective time management. It clearly displays interdependent relationships that exist between the different activities or tasks to be completed. It arranges activities and tasks into proper sequence of events, enabling a project to be completed in the most efficient time possible. These help to calculate estimated time or elapsed time to complete a project. Network analysis also highlights the activities that are considered critical, that is, those activities which have to be completed with their planned time to complete the projects. And besides this, the network analysis can identify the critical and non-critical activities. Process of network analysis. The process of network analysis is basically, firstly, break down project into logical sequence of activities to be completed. So first all the activities are to be listed and then put them in the logical sequence, logical order. Secondly, estimate the time duration of each activity. So it's best to prepare a kind of table where firstly the activities are listed in a sequence and then against each activity estimated time can be put down. Thirdly, arrange activities in the most efficient sequence of events and estimate the elapsed time of the project. This step helps to prepare for the forthcoming project or the activities to be carried out in the particular project. Advantages of network analysis. The three major advantages of network analysis are: firstly, identifies interrelationships between different tasks or activities. Secondly, resources can be planned and allocated for appropriate use. Thirdly, good communication and planning tool for time management. In fact, as all the preparation work can be carried out before the project is actually put into operation, network analysis helps to carry out the work in an efficient manner. So therefore, it is a good idea when all the tasks or activities are identified beforehand, their relationships are depicted, the time, resources, etc. are properly allocated, and therefore it leads to efficiency on part of the managers. Some of the disadvantages of network analysis are: firstly, in case of larger projects, the complexity of the network diagram increases as number of activities increases. This is due to the fact that more people and more activities are involved, so therefore it is very difficult many times to identify the proper sequence, and it may lead to chaos and complexity. So this can be a major disadvantage. Secondly, there is a definite relationship between time and money, but personnel cost is usually a fixed and not variable cost. But if it is not applied properly and lot of personnel are involved, then lot of time is wasted, and which leads to indirect cost on part of the project. And lastly, while estimating the duration of activities, key uncertainties often exist, which lead to poor prediction of elapsed time. This is one of the major drawbacks of network analysis. Many times when the projects are planned and these are of longer duration, this problem might come. This may be due to the fact that some of the equipment may not be, which has already been ordered, may not be received on time, or many times when government brings in certain changes or some policy decisions are changed at a very higher level, this may lead to complexities. Let's understand techniques of network analysis. Two techniques for network analysis were developed independently in the late 1950s. These were Pert, that is Program Evaluation and Review Technique, and CPM, that is Critical Path Method. Pert, that is Program Evaluation and Review Technique, was developed by the US Navy for the planning and control of the Polaris missile program, and the emphasis was on completing the program in the shortest possible time. In addition, Pert has the ability to cope with uncertain activity completion times. For example, for a particular activity, the most likely completion time is 4 weeks, but it could be anywhere between 3 weeks and 8 weeks. Pert charts depict tasks, duration, and dependency information. Each chart starts with an initiation node from which the first task or tasks originate. If multiple tasks begin at the same time, they all start from the node or branch or fork out from the starting point. Each task is represented by a line which states its name or other identifiers, its duration, the number of people assigned to it, and in some cases, the initials of the personnel assigned. The other end of the task line is determined by another node which identifies the start of another task or the next task or the beginning of any slack time, that is waiting time between two tasks. Each task is connected to its successor task in this manner, forming a network of nodes and connecting lines. The chart is complete when all final tasks come together at the completion node. When slack time exists between the end of one task and the start of another task, the usual method is to draw a broken or a dotted line between the end of the first task and the start of the next dependent task. A PERT chart may have multiple parallel or interconnecting networks of tasks. If the schedule project has milestones, checkpoints, or review points, all of which are highly recommended in any project schedule, the PERT chart will note that all tasks up to that point terminate at the review node. Then the second method is the critical path method, popularly known as CPM. CPM was developed by DuPont, and the emphasis was on the trade-off between the cost of the project and its overall completion time. When time of less of an uncertainty and the project has relatively routine tasks, CPM is more likely to be useful. It also distinguishes activities which are critical and non-critical for maintaining the schedule. For example, for certain activities, it may be possible to decrease their completion time by spending more money. How does this affect the overall time of the project? Critical path method charts are similar to PERT and are sometimes known as PERT CPM. In a CPM chart, the critical path is indicated. A critical path consists of a set of dependent tasks, each dependent on the preceding line, which together take the longest time to complete. Although it is not normally done, a CPM chart can define multiple equally critical paths. Tasks which fall on the critical path should be noted in some way so that they may have to be given special attention. One way to do this is to draw a critical path task with a double dotted line instead of a single line. Usually, a thick line indicates the critical path. The critical path method is one of several related techniques for doing project planning. CPM is for the projects that are made up of a number of individual activities. If some of the activities require other activities to finish before they can start, then the project becomes a complex web of activities. Therefore, CPM can help to figure out how long a completion project will take to complete. Basically, we try to see here how complex projects are completed and how much time they will take to be completed. Then, which activities are critical, meaning that they have to be done on time or else the whole project will take much longer time. If we put the information about the cost of each activity and how much it costs to speed up each activity, CPM can help to figure out whether we should try to speed up the project, and if so, What is the least costly way to speed up the project? Steps in Pert CPM. There are 6 major steps involved in Pert CPM that should be completed in chronological order. Firstly, identify activities required by the project. Secondly, identify the precedence relationship among the activities. This is a very vital step because here we have to see which is the preceding and which is the succeeding activity. And this relationship helps to prepare the network in a proper manner. Thirdly, determine the expected time required for each activity. Fourthly, develop a network diagram of activities which consists of arrows and events or nodes, which is circles showing precedence relationships. Fifthly, determine the earliest and latest feasible event times. And sixthly, identify the critical path. That means the maximum time required to complete the project. In this figure, a network analysis diagram is depicted. It shows the sequence of activities from start to finish. There are nodes and there are nodes depicted by circles and there are arrows which lead from one activity to another. And in this particular diagram, you can see that the the number of the activity, sequence of the activity and time allotted to each activity is shown from start to finish. And as can be seen, there are some activities which are being carried out in a parallel manner and some activities which after finish of the previous activity only can be carried out. Let's now take a look at the difference between Gantt charts and Pert CPM. The major differences of the two are firstly visualization. One of the key differences between a Pert CPM chart and a Gantt chart is the way information is presented. Gantt charts present information in a format of a bar chart. On the other hand, the Pert CPM displays information as a network model. Second difference is with regard to work breakdown structure. In the work breakdown structure, the PERT CPM typically does not show the percentage of the work completed, whereas the Gantt charts, they show the percentage of the work that has been completed for each task. Thirdly, simplification. Gantt charts are ideal for straightforward projects with few interlinking tasks because the Gantt charts present project tasks and time allocation. There are the only two pieces of data. On the other hand, the PERT CPM charts also include project tasks and time allocation, and they display dependency. So it's easier to change the Gantt charts as the task moves along and it comes closer to completion. So they are rather simple and PERT CPM are a little complex. And lastly, the major difference is the accuracy. Gantt charts are simpler to read, but PERT CPM charts extend an element of detail to the project scheduling through both the network model's ability to display dependency and PERT CPM's unique ability to anticipate actual time that a task will take to complete. So these are the four major differences between Gantt chart and the PERT CPM chart. So students, we have seen what Gantt charts and network analysis is all about. Let's now see what we have learned from this module. In this module, we have learned that an operational plan is necessary to ensure that the activities of the library and its services are focused on achieving the priorities and goals identified in the strategic plan of the organization. Two major techniques of operational planning discussed in this module are Gantt chart and network analysis. A Gantt chart is a type of bar chart developed by Henry Gantt that illustrates a project schedule. Network analysis is the general name given to certain specific techniques which can be used for the planning, management, and control of projects. Two techniques for network analysis are Pert, that is Program Evaluation and Review Technique, and CPM, that is Critical Path Method, have been covered. Lastly, we have seen the major differences between Gantt chart and Pert CPM charts. Other details, the diagrams, etc., are given along with the references in your e-material. Thank you.